Hello, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
How are you today? Where are we?
Today we're at the Eagle Saloon in SF, except not. It's still closed.
But in our
RIP
hearts,
Warrington.
in our
In our
hearts,
hearts,
we're there.
we're at a gay bar.
Well, I don't know if it has to be like gay or not, but I miss dive bars quite a
When's the
bit.
last time you went to a straight bar?
Probably was the last time that we recorded out, and I think that it was at Hawaii West.
And Reds and Buddha
Yeah,
Bar. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a good night. Oh, and then the parking garage. That was a good night.
Shh. We don't talk about that place. I told you. We don't talk about that place. But yeah, no, I miss them. I miss them. I don't know if I actually went to any bar after. No, probably not, because even when we actually came back that day, I was just thinking, it's like, that was weird. It was a weird day. I had the feeling that people are just avoiding this, and we should be avoiding it too.
I think, yeah, that was like Wednesday or Thursday, and then the county
Ordinance.
announced that Monday, the following Monday, that as of Tuesday it was stay at home.
Yeah. So yeah, it's what it is now, is that we only think about the bars, but we are not there, only in spirit.
So let's talk about the movie that we watched.
That's right, because we watched Manhunter. Why did you pick Manhunter, Blake?
You surprised me pleasantly by picking a couple movies about serial killers, and I didn't even know they were about serial killers.
Oh,
I fucking love serial killers. And so I was thinking, what movie can I pick about serial killers? And I've seen most of the stuff that is relatively well respected, but I had never seen Manhunters, and I was well aware that it was the first film adaptation of Thomas Harris's books about Hannibal Lecter. It was filmed before Silence of the Lamb came out. And so it's always kind of overshadowed by Silence of the Lamb. But from what I had read, it was a decent movie in its own regard. So I thought, let's watch it.
yeah. So basically, this is based on the Red Dragon book,
Correct.
that it was then readapted in the future by Ridley Scott in 2000 something. I don't
Ridley
remember.
Scott directed Red Dragon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was checking it. I think it was with Edward Norton.
Yeah, and Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yeah,
and Ray
and
Fiennes,
Ralph
and
Fiennes.
Emily
Yeah,
Watson.
yeah. Oh no, it was Brett Ratner. Hannibal was directed by Ridley Scott.
That was a giant steaming pile of shit.
No? Oh, Hannibal Rising. No, I don't know. What is this?
But you know who was in Hannibal? One of the finest actors of her generation, Julianne Moore.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. No, she was
And
there. She
and
was
that
there,
guy
man.
from Goodfellas.
Yeah, right, Leo. He was there. Yeah. But yeah, in Red Dragon, Edward Norton was playing the FBI, well, the agent. The FBI
Will Graham.
agent?
Yep.
Yeah.
The primary FBI agent. Was
Yeah.
he FBI? Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was flying in a private plane, so he must be FBI.
You had to be FBI, otherwise they don't let you go in. But yeah, as a summary, basically, if you watch Red Dragon, it's basically the same, well, the same movie. It's the same idea, but this is a retired agent that actually captured Hannibal Lecter, not Lecter, Lecter.
With a K? That was so bizarre.
With a CK, yeah, it was a bit weird.
Okay, Michael Mann, we get it. You're different.
Yeah. Basically, he's in retirement because he was like very psychologically affected by capturing Hannibal Lecter, and
But also
then
Lecter attacked him physically. Like, he almost killed him.
yeah, and I think that basically the idea is they go to him because he's one of the biggest experts in serial killers. He's retired, but he's the only person that he can connect emotionally with the killer and just find them before he kills again. And this killer is someone that basically locates families and just kills them. I have to say that I like that, except on a single scene, they hold back on the gruesome details than the Silence of the Lambs and the rest of the movies that they spawn from there. They actually like to just, celebrate. They're a bit more
It was
raw
fairly
and visceral.
restrained until I think at some point they kind of display
Like
A
some
crime scene,
pictures,
and it was like,
yeah,
fuck, this is awful.
yeah, that they like remove the eyes or something, you know.
Yep.
But that's the only thing. Is like when he's on the plane and the pictures like just randomly fall on on his lap. I said there is like this. Of course, there's going to be like a little girl about like, oh my god, mom, I'm seeing this. Uh, but besides that, is that the show is more or less, I don't know, like restrained. You're absolutely right. So basically, it's that a story of the guy investigating and trying to figure it out who is the serial killer, the Tooth Fairy, as they call it. Uh,
So, and then Hannibal Lecter is involved because
yeah,
Will Graham has to go back and be like, "Hey,
I
can
need help.
you? Yeah, I need help."
But the funny thing is that he was already in contact with the Tooth Fairy at that point.
Yeah. So surprisingly, Hannibal Lecter died or lied and tried to get Will Graham murdered. But whatever.
Yep, yep. He actually gives the direction, the address where he lives with his wife and his kid, and he directs the Tooth Fairy there. So, from my opinion perspective, I think that this movie is a victim of its time. You know, it's really
That's
80s.
exactly what I was going to say.
I don't think that it's bad, but it's like it's so 80s and not 80s in a good way. I don't think that it's like a way of, for example, we discussed about this about Mandy, about like it's 80s, but it tries to celebrate the 80s. Is that this is 80s in a way that is like, no, this is getting in the way of what you're trying to say. And
Like
we
if you were
also,
to say to yourself, imagine a horror thriller from the 80s directed by Michael Mann, you can
oh yeah,
see
that's
this
right.
in your head. It's just there.
Yeah, well, no, I think that the only difference that I was not expecting is that they have way more licensed music. Putting like in a
Yeah.
very, very awkward spot. So I'm like, why are you using a song, a famous song right now? There is no point. Why are you
I
doing
wanted to look
this?
up before we spoke whether Top Gun came out first or not because I was like, there's a lot of like homage paid to whichever one came out second or first.
I think that it's only the 80s, man. I don't think that it's like a direct homage one to the other. I think that it's like just like, this is how cinema was made back then. Is that that's what they thought that is like quality cinema. And the only thing that made me made me laugh a couple of times. Well, I laughed multiple times, but the idea of how we talk about the servant and talking about how experimental it was, how cool it was during that time, how we're trying to just figuring out new stuff, and how effective it was. And now in this movie is that you have like several scenes where they play with the slow mo, you know, but there is no real reason for playing with that slow mo. And then they almost speed some scenes up. Like for example, there is a showdown at the end where Will Graham like just come running through a window glass. You know, for no particular reason, that he could have shot the killer, you know, from away because he was not aware. But it's like, no, I'm going to be like just running to it, and then there's like this point that the guy started, you know, like just stabbing him or not. We don't really know because he's like really confused. And then the guy, the serial killer, the Tooth Fairy, he comes walking in slow motion through this print that he had in his living room.
Yeah, it was all so bizarre.
It's irking, whatever is the verb for that. But I was just cringing the whole time, like,
So
no.
up until Will Graham dives through the glass window, the entire film I was like, okay, I can still defend this to Jose. Like, this is all right. And then that happened, and I was like, son of a bitch. It just jumped the shark.
That's the funny thing is that when I started, like, wow, this is very 80s, you know, is that there is this point where he actually backflips the reporter the first time that he talks with him, and no one says anything. He's like, yeah, that's an 80s movie, you know, is that just gratuitous violence, you know, without any kind of
Rules don't
suspense or
apply in
anything.
the
He's like,
80s.
nah,
I mean, you saw
doesn't matter.
fashion.
Yeah, you're going to be like just a badass. Then there was this scene where the first time that Will Graham goes to visit Hannibal Lecter, and he goes
It's the only
out of
time,
the.
right?
Yeah, that's right. It's the only
Yeah.
time, and he goes out of the building like running in this very awkward, awkward way. And there is this scene that lasts like 1 minute, like running, and then there's going to Gonzo camera, like people looking at him, like looking at the camera, like what is going on? Just go, go. At that point, I felt like no. And then when when the flaming wheelchair goes down the parking garage, it's like, why would you even bother into just throwing him back into the point that you pick him up? It's like, is this what is the effect that you're trying to look for?
See, so I had a hard time with this film for a number of reasons. I'll say first, I think for an 80s movie, it did pretty good. That being said,
Because you lower the
the
bar,
bar
it's
is very low.
like
Yes.
it's like, okay, regular cinema is up here, it's like 80s is down here. It's like,
Way down
okay,
there.
yeah, if you don't make me puke, it's like it's okay.
But I had a difficult time assessing this film because I read the Thomas Harris book long before the Edward Norton version came out, and then I was the most hardcore Edward Norton fanboy when this movie came out, so I saw it instantly, and I remember that film so well. I remember Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is the reporter who gets his lips bit off,
Oh,
and Ray Fiennes does light him on fire and sends him down, I think, into a hospital, but he also attaches a message for the press to that
oh,
bottle.
that's right.
So
Yeah,
there's like a whole purpose to it.
yeah,
And so I just kept thinking of these far superior actors 15 years later doing a much better script by a better director. And I just feel bad. I was like, this film had no chance. How can you compare it to like Emily Watson being the blind person compared to Joan Allen, who actually I thought wasn't terrible, but like the scene where they start to have sex, the Red Dragon and Joan Allen, the Edward Norton version actually follows much more closer to the plot of the book. And what happens is he's watching the video of his intended victims, which horrified me when this came out in 2001. And she lays in his lap and she starts to feel him get hard. And then
yeah.
she starts to blow him, which the idea of him getting
Ouch.
fellatio while he's watching these people he's planning on murdering,
Yeah,
that was
it's
really
mandatory.
effective, at least in 2002 when this came out.
That's a very interesting point because I was wondering when he's having sex, I was trying to figure it out. It's like, what do you want me to feel about this guy? Why are you doing this in this kind of, I don't know, like romantic way? You know, is it because they move away from the living room, they go into the bedroom, and he can consummate? But it's like, what are you trying to tell me about this guy? Are you trying to tell me that he's like a broken human, but we should still like hold some kind of hope for him, or what? And I had the feeling that this is exactly what he's doing. And I felt like even more like just offbeat, more like why is this going on? So as an 80s movie, I think that is average to what I expect from the 80s. I think that is like a
No, if you
curse.
think about the actual everything that was produced in the 80s, this is above average. You know it.
I would say that I expect very little from the 80s. Very little. You know, I expect to be entertained at best. And I was entertained. You know, half of the movie, I was
Yeah,
exactly like
it was
you.
entertaining.
I was like you, just saying about, okay, I don't want to defend this. You know, I was like, okay, I want to be able to say something good. And the first, I don't know, like an hour on the movie, because it's 2 hours long, I was like, okay, I was paying attention. I was actually just realizing about what was going on, But towards the end, the last 40 minutes, I think that they're like a train wreck.
Yeah, the conclusion of the film was just pure ridiculous, and it made me sad because I did think there were some nice aspects to the film leading up to it, just like you said. But again, I couldn't watch this without comparing it to Red Dragon and the book, and I think that if I hadn't read or consumed the movies, I would have thought this was a good movie, but then when you realize there were directors that understood Hannibal Lecter is the horrifying aspect, and that
Yeah,
they need to show Red Dragon to show us how horrifying he is, which
yeah,
they just didn't even introduce us to him until halfway through the movie. And something Red Dragon did very nicely was the character development between Emily Watson's character and Ray Fiennes. And that's what made it so horrifying. And in this movie, it was like, oh, they just brought this blind character into the movie and then they're going to have sex. And it's like, they just missed out on so many opportunities that other filmmakers were able to identify as the actual
yeah.
strengths of the story.
Yeah, I don't think that you can actually just excuse this movie, and just analyzing it in a vacuum, especially when the Hannibal character has been so central, and all those stories. When you have also like Will Graham in the Hannibal TV show.
But to be fair, in the book, Hannibal Lecter plays a much smaller part. Like they kind of played this truer to the source material, but they didn't understand that the truly horrifying thing is Hannibal Lecter and Red Dragon. They didn't focus on either of those things nearly as much as they should have.
Yeah, I mean, I had to say that that is seen when they're like analyzing, when they're doing the investigation about the note that they find. I found that that was okay. But okay, I mean, that's well made. It actually builds some kind of tension about like they are working against the clock. They don't know exactly what they're looking for, but they want to just be smarter than a guy that they know that is really, really smart.
And the stupid fucking quips, like, I'll fax it to you before the morning, or put it through the data center right quick. I was like, come on. And then also Will Graham's monologue where he's talking to Red Dragon, except it's
Oh yeah,
not a monologue, it's fucking exposition because Michael Mann
yep,
doesn't think the viewer will understand the completely
yep,
benign things happening on the screen.
yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. I thought about that about like this is not good directing. Is that this is just basically I don't know. You
It
think
wasn't good
you're
acting
yeah.
either. Brian Cox fucked up as Hannibal Lecter. The whoever was this, I think his last name is Peterson, the guy who played Red
William
Graham.
Peterson. I
Yeah, it
think that
was
is so
way over the top. Interestingly enough, I read the New York Times. I didn't read the whole New York Times review, but I read a little bit, and they said this movie doesn't make any sense, but it's pretty compelling, so you won't notice. And then they complimented Peterson's acting, and I was like, "What?
Nope, nope. I'm
It's
sorry, but nope.
awful."
Yeah, I mean, I had to say that most of the actors on this movie they didn't have like a long career, or like something good
Well,
commercial.
Brian Cox and Joan Allen.
What? Come on, Brian Cox was in what? Succession?
25th Hour.
Sure. And actually, it was in Born Identity.
He was.
Yeah,
He
and
excelled in the Bourne Identity.
John Allen was in the Born Supremacy and Ultimatum.
She was also in that movie with Richard Gere where he murders her lover. That was such a good movie. I was like 17 at the time, and I was like, this is cinema.
Okay. I think that we may have a different understanding about what cinema is, but sure. What I'm saying is that these are not like actors that they became like big stars.
Uh, okay.
And
Joan Allen is probably the most recognizable to this point, and she's not a huge star. To me, Brian
yeah,
Cox is a fantastic character actor that's in a lot of stuff. So, but
I'm
yeah, I
not
agree with
I'm
you.
not discussing that, but it's like when you actually look about what they tried to do with the Red Dragon, and even with Hannibal, albeit it was a complete mess. Is I had a feeling that is that they were investing significantly more, or even the Silence of the Lambs, is that they were actors that they were established and actresses, and they became even larger after the movie. Is that this movie I had never heard about it.
Oh, that's interesting because it's always been on my radar, and I don't know why. But I think my mom was always into Thomas Harris growing up, so we had the books around.
Oh, gotcha.
Um, so rank the 4 Hannibal Lecter movies. So there's Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Red Dragon, and Manhunter.
I remember the funny thing, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I had the feeling that when I went to watch Red Dragon, I hadn't watched The Silence of the Lambs yet. Yeah, I know, I
What?
know. I don't
What
know
is
why it took me that long,
you
but it's
didn't
like I
see
was the
you
one.
didn't see
I did.
Silence of the Lamb in the
I
90s?
Yeah, I didn't. I
Did you
don't know
see
why.
Rachel at the Wedding? Rachel
No,
getting married?
I haven't watched that yet.
Jonathan Demme, that's his name.
So probably from the best to worst on the worst to best.
Best to worst.
Best to worst. I mean, I would say that Silence of the Lambs, because of the chemistry between Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, is pretty good.
And the
Uh,
direction, best out of
yeah, and
all
the
of them.
direction is pretty good. Then I would say Red Dragon. I
Agreed.
think,
I completely agree. Silence of the Lamb, Red Dragon.
yeah, I went to the cinema to watch it, as I told you, and I was like, wow, that's good. That's an entertaining movie. It's not going to be like changing my life or anything, but I spent like 2 hours of my life like really, really entertained. Um,
Yeah. Tell me what's number 3 and 4. Put those in order.
I don't remember too much of Hannibal. I only remember saying like this makes no sense.
Do you remember when Hannibal Lecter cut off the top of Ray Liotta's head and then cut off a piece of his brain for him to eat?
Yep, he actually feeds him the brain. Yeah, I remember that. That's the reason what I say. Like, I think that those three movies are way more
Gratuitous?
gratuitous, yeah, than this one. This one I had a
Oh, yeah,
feeling that it's like,
completely.
yeah, I could be doing that, but I'm not going to be like doing it. But the problem is like, I'm not going to be doing that when you actually cut the motivation away from why they're doing it. Is that it leaves everything in the air.
But if you think Jonathan Demme did that with Silence of the Lambs, besides the scene where he puts the security guard's face on, which is horrible,
Yeah.
everything else is very restrained because they're focusing on the characters and how
Yep.
horrifying they are, not what they did.
But this movie actually focused on the actions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Silence of the Lambs
Yeah.
succeeded because they focused on characters,
Yep.
not
Yep.
events.
Well, because the screenplay is good enough for actually focusing on the actors. This screenplay is not that good.
It's really not. So you would say that Hannibal, and then you would say that Manhunter. Yeah, Manhunter is the worst of all of them.
I could say because at least is that you could say that okay, the acting is better. The production values is better. It
In
aged
Hannibal.
better in
Yeah.
Hannibal than in this. It's like the problem that I have with this is like this is the big thing of like some directing decisions that it could only happen on the 80s because Michael Mann can do better than this. He did. Collateral and Heat are better movies than this.
Collateral for sure. I really enjoyed that movie. Miami Vice, I thought, was basically Manhunter without the serial killer, but it's exactly the same movie.
Wow. There's no selling it. No, I was saying Heat. That is
Yeah,
a
yeah. I haven't
very
seen Heat, so
okay.
I completely agree. I think it's Silence of the Lambs, then Red Dragon, but then I would say that
Manhunter.
Manhunter is better than Hannibal. You need to rewatch Hannibal. I don't think you remember how bad it is. Do you remember at some point they like wheel this disabled old guy into a pig pen and they eat him? It's a really
Oh,
bad movie.
oh.
So Manhunters isn't great, but in terms of the bar where we place it, I have
Wait a second. Wasn't it Hannibal when the last scene, he's in a plane, Hannibal is in a plane, and he has a Tupperware with his victim's brain, and he
Ray Liotta's
offers it,
brain. It's filled
Radiola's
with
brain, and he
wine.
offers it to the girl that is
That's
sitting
the
next to him.
one. Yep.
Oh, you see, that was bad. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it. I'm not going to rewatch it because something that is borderline better than a movie that I'm not a big fan of is something that I don't want to watch. You know?
I mean, Julianne Moore was in it, and
That's the other thing is
they're
that
just
Julian
saying that.
Moore is in there. It's like, I don't need to rewatch that. The other
Yeah,
problem,
I was bummed to be honest. I thought this was going to be a little bit better than it was.
so the thing is, William Graham is a character that is on the early stories.
Yeah,
What is the name of the author?
Thomas Harris.
Thomas Harris. That do he have a story that they happen chronologically before Red Dragon?
I don't think so. There's 3 books. So there's Red Dragon. Oh no, I think Hannibal is about catching. It's the prequel, right, to Red Dragon.
Okay, I don't remember.
And I don't remember, to be honest, either. I used to be super into this series.
Okay, yeah, because the thing that I actually found interesting in this movie Manhunter is that okay, they portray Hannibal Lecter, not Lecter. They portray as a very central piece of the story, but there is no real build up for it. It's basically like some kind of Deus Ex. It's not really a Deus Ex Machina, but it's a bit more like he's smart and he's there and he was the thing. You don't know anything. You only need to know this.
Yeah, I agree. And did you see how far apart the books were written? So I think Red Dragon came out in 81, and then Silence of the Lamb came out in 88 or 89, and Hannibal didn't come out in 1999. So they were like 8 and 10 years apart. And it's almost like he had all of these ideas for people in his head, and he wrote the first story, which was Red Dragon, and then he realized Hannibal Lecter is the real anti-hero here.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. Hmm. Okay. No, I did not. I mean, I have the feeling that you are like significantly more versed on all these serial killer world than I am.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm more enticed about it. For me, it's
I'm
like,
happy to
yeah,
teach you
it's
though.
no, I'm good, thank you. For me, it's just entertaining. It's like, sure, yeah, so that was good. What would you say that is your favorite serial killer movie?
Oh, that's really tough. I mean, probably the house that Jack built.
Because Lars von Trier is on it.
I would have to think about it a little bit, but probably Zodiac.
Okay, a David Fincher movie. Interesting.
I love David Fincher, man. The
Oh.
Social Network's one of the best films of the last 20 years.
Okay, I know that you're joking right now, but sure.
Um, I'm trying to think what other serial killer movies would be up there.
Seven.
Yeah, but that's fiction, and that movie seriously fucked me up. Really fucked me up.
How?
Well, I was like 17 when I saw it, and I hadn't been allowed to watch rated R movies because of my Mormon family.
Yeah,
So then when they did the lust sin murder, when he had to fuck that prostitute with a knife dick, I just wanted to die. And I was like, I'm just going to pray to Jesus.
and pretend that this didn't happen. This was just a nightmare.
Yeah, I would say Zodiac for now. But yeah, Seven is a fantastic film. And what's in the box?
The funny thing is, like, I heard it so many times, like, what's in the box, and it took me like a very, very long time for watching the movie for the first time. I don't know why films from the 90s, I ignore most of them.
Have
Right,
you seen
Silence of the Lambs or Seven.
that Tom York clip where they show the scene from Seven where they're standing around the box and he's like, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" And finally Brad Pitt opens it and it's just Tom York's head and he's singing.
No,
And then it's just Brad Pitt look away in disgust and Tom York keeps singing. It's amazing.
Does he shoot someone after that?
No, Tom York just keeps singing.
Okay, that's
Find out
good.
what's in the box.
Okay.
All right. So what would you score Manhunter?
5.5. I mean,
What?
the thing is, like, I don't think that it's a bad movie like Headhunters. I don't think that
Freaking
it's as
asshole.
dumb. No, come on, let's be honest. Is that do you think that it's as dumb as Headhunters?
No,
I
it's
had a
better
feeling
than
that the
that.
Headhunters, the problem is even with the source material. It's not only about like what they did with it. It's a bit more like, look, whatever was the book that spawned this is a third. I'm sorry, but in this case, I have the feeling that okay, the source material is good. It has the potential. I had a feeling that there like some direction here that it has some kind of problems. It has some kind of confusion, from being on the 80s.
No, I'm impressed. My score is 4.5.
Okay, no, that's completely fine. It's like I was like pretty torn multiple times when I was watching about like this is better. This is better than I thought at the beginning. Like towards the end, as I told you, the last 40 minutes, like no, this is not good.
It all has to do with the standard of excellence because if you look at it compared to cinema in general, it's below average. If you look at it compared to films in the 80s, I would probably give it a 6.5 or something like that.
But let's go back to the common criteria that we use. It's like, would you recommend this movie to anyone? If you actually
Never.
know some,
Never.
never. If someone tells you, I like serial killers movies,
Mm-mm.
and I already watched The Red Dragon, I watched Hannibal, I hated it, and I watched Silence of the Lamb.
This is like a
Wouldn't you recommend?
footnote of history that should be forgotten. That's my opinion.
If you're saying that this should be forgotten, I had a feeling that 4.5 is still like pretty generous to it.
I'm not going to change my score. I think
Okay.
that it was above average for the time, below average for now. There were some interesting attempts, and it all completely went to hell in the last 30 minutes.
The reason why I actually scored like 5.5 is because it actually got me engaged. I don't know if it was good or
It was
bad.
compelling.
It
It
was like the
was
kind,
compelling for whatever reason for a while.
yeah. It made me think a bit of of Carell from the perspective that this is not a good movie. There, look, if I analyze it for whatever criteria, it can be like the criteria from the 70s, the criteria from right now. this is not a good movie, but I cannot pull my eyes away from it.
I mean, when you compare this movie to Carell's like a perfect 10.
I agree. Because I was thinking about it like, well, Carell, from an artistic perspective, it has something. Or it was trying to do something. This is just trying to be entertaining cinema. It succeeds in some terms, about being entertaining, but no.
Yep. Ultimately, it was a failure.
I will never remember this movie. Never.
Never.
You can ask me like in 4 episodes from now, I won't remember that we watched Manhunter.
Let me put that on my calendar.
Yep. I'm going to be like generous, even like just a week and a half from now. I won't remember this movie.
So what are we watching next?
So I have 2 options for you.
I get to pick?
You get to pick between 2 options that I'm going to be presenting. And part of them starts with D. The Room.
I love D.
I know you do. The Room and The Lost Boys.
The Room from like 3 years ago that won the Oscar?
No, that one.
Oh, The Room.
No, that one. Not Room. The Room.
Yeah.
The 2005, I think. And The Lost Boys, for just continuing with the 80s. Because I never watched
it.
I don't know.
I'm going to make you watch the Decalogue and watch 10 hours of Kierzystov Kieslowski, and then we'll talk about staying in the 80s.
Look, you made me watch this movie, and you made me watch Headhunters. They're like 2 Hunters movies that they have.
But I gave you Europa and Little Children. You're welcome.
Sure.
So you said The Room and
Lost Boys.
I'm going to choose The Lost Boys, which is interesting because I've seen it before, but not since like the mid 90s.
Okay. Yeah, I never watched it.
Terrify the shit out of me.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm curious to watch it because I heard a lot about it when I was growing up, but I never watched it. So
maybe when the quarantine is over, we can drive to the Santa Cruz Pier where they filmed and record a podcast from the Santa Cruz Pier.
I would fucking love that because I love the Santa Cruz Boardwalk. I've been like many times there, but
date.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Can we go into the Big Deep?
Yes, we can.
Great. Then I'm completely
not against the rules. We're friends.
It depends on what you do. All right, man. This was good. This was a movie that you picked that I scored higher than you did.
That's very rare.
Yeah, it is. Okay, man. That was fun. So next time, The Lost Boys.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Wash your hands.
Bye.